And
Yeah.
there's still parts of it that's like, oh, your mission objective is to not get caught. And it's like, fine, okay. I guess we're doing stealth then.
Mm-hmm.
But have you played Helldivers at all?
I've watched a little bit of it, but I haven't played it.
So, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Helldivers, particularly Helldivers 2,
Mm-hmm.
has an amazing score. It is so good.
Yeah.
And the guy that did Helldivers did Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, cool.
And you can tell there is some like similar DNA.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, this goes really hard. This is so cool.
Yeah.
/ Jedi Enclave Official. You know what? We'll put our little thumbnail on there. 1, 2, 5. There's that. Oh, I need to. My daily time reminder to do what?
I don't know.
Fucking. Okay.
It's going to be okay, Daniel.
It's not, though, because, like, Zuckerberg and fucking Elon Musk and all these just supreme dumbasses have integrated themselves irreversibly into society, and there's no way to get rid of them. Well, I mean, there is, but we can't talk about that.
Trying to think of a way to obfuscate enough that enough to get around
getting in trouble.
Yeah. Mario's brother.
Yeah,
there we go.
Someone. I probably shouldn't say this. I'll say this before we switch to the video. So, someone said this remarkably short sentence to me a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was just like, and it was like, all I said was, why couldn't we have gotten Luigi? And I was like, oh, I know. Okay, anyway. Let's stop talking sedition. I don't want,
if we must.
I don't want anyone breaking my door down. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presidency. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast, a weekly podcast about Star Wars adjacent things, fandom, nerdy stuff that we like.
Some things that aren't related to Star Wars at all, like Severance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Severance is, well, okay. So, question of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And we might start doing, this might be the only time we ever do it just because it briefly came to my mind based on what we were talking about before we started the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a quick 1 minute current events question. And you're going to answer the question that I'm posing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a Roman salute or was it a Nazi salute?
It was absolutely a Nazi salute.
It was a Nazi salute. Don't apologize for Nazis.
The man was up on stage, did a full-on Sieg Heil.
Yep.
You cannot
Twice.
show video. Yes,
Twice.
You cannot show video of what he did in Germany. It is against the law because it was a Nazi salute. Yeah. And the Germans have actually learned from their historical mistakes, unlike us.
I like how the Nazis are like neo-Nazis are like, yeah, it's a Nazi salute.
Yeah. Like when actual Nazis say you're doing a Nazi salute, it's a Nazi salute.
Maybe we shouldn't do current events anymore because we both get too upset. Anyway, while you're here, if you could go check us out on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord, we would love that. And today we're talking about some Star Wars news. Severance Season 2, as you mentioned. I think next week we're dusting off and bringing back the old Star Wars Storytime.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because there have been some pretty cool like comic stuff and in the time that we've kind of missed. So right after this, you and I are going to sit down and play Star Wars Jedi Power Battles.
Okay.
So the re-release came out Thursday,
Okay.
and I've played it. I've done a couple of stream sessions with it, and it's one like this game. I remember the first time I ever played it. My uncle, I was babysitting for his kids, my cousins, my like little baby cousins, and he had a PlayStation, and we went and rented it. We rented the game at like a family video or block, but whatever isn't around anymore.
I think both of those.
Yeah.
There might actually be one Blockbuster still left in the U.S. somewhere.
Yeah, like the one that's open.
Yeah.
I think they made a Family Guy episode about that. Anyway, so we rented it because it was like, oh, it's Star Wars. I bet it's really cool. And I brought it home and it's like, why is this motherfucker so hard? Why is this game so hard? And the re-release, the stuff that made it hard was that the platforming was really poor, and they seem to have tightened up a lot of that stuff in the remaster or whatever.
I mean, look at it this way: at least you didn't accidentally rent like Masters of Terrace-Kazi or something.
I've played that game.
It's pretty bad.
I think I played it on someone's computer once. It's pretty rough. However, I always really liked when you played as Luke Skywalker in that game. He's got the all black with the thing, and it's like, that's a cool fucking look. I like that. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do some Star Wars Jedi power battles. And okay, the other cool thing about this game is that in the original game, you could not like you start on level 1. You could not get to level 2 until you finish level 1.
Okay, makes sense.
In the re-release, you have access to all the levels up front. So
nice.
We're going to skip around a little bit to kind of the ones that are iconic to the movie, because a lot of people don't realize is that Jedi Power Battles is kind of officially a movie tie-in game. It loosely follows the events of episode 1. Yeah. And you get to think about, while we're doing the podcast, what character you want to play. Because you can do Mace Windu with the original release blue lightsaber. Because remember, canonically, Mace Windu had a blue lightsaber.
It was blue until Samuel L. Jackson said, I want that motherfucker to be purple.
So you can do either blue or purple.
Oh, cool.
You can do Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can do Adi Gallia, who in the original release of the game had a red lightsaber.
Ooh.
And she holds it upside down like a Starkiller. But now it's blue because they're like, oh no, that definitely
that was definitely a mistake.
Like that's a game developer being like, we need more colors in this motherfucker. Let's give her a red one. Plo Koon had a gold lightsaber.
Ooh, fancy.
Which now they changed to blue, but you can do either. I think in the base version of so you can play as Jar Jar Binks.
I have dibs on not Jar Jar.
Okay. The thing is that you have to beat every level first, which I've not done yet. Okay. So it's not even accessible.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. And you can do Darth Maul.
Okay.
I think there are a couple, like you can do like Padme.
Sort of like bending the limits of canon here.
A little bit.
We'll go with it.
Yeah, but since we're just fucking around with it, you might as well. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be right after this, probably at 7. I'll try to. We kind of started a little late today, but I'm going to try to compress things. I'm doing a very bad job because I've already started talking about things too much. Let's get on to Star Wars news. You want to do Daisy Ridley?
Sure. So this Daisy Ridley Star Wars movie is definitely happening officially, maybe.
Yeah.
So let's just say Lucasfilm has most recently hired George Nolfi, who did screenplay work on a couple of Bourne movies and Ocean's 12.
Oh my God. That's Jason Bourne.
Yeah, that guy.
That could have been his line.
Yeah. Anyway, he's hired to write for this new movie. It's pretty exciting. Do I also include the fact that
well, they've lost some screenwriters.
Yeah, they have,
and some good ones. So like Damon Lindelof was attached to that film, which was really exciting because like Damon Lindelof famously did a lot of Lost, like a lot of the good stuff in Lost, and also did the HBO
Watchmen.
The HBO Watchmen series, which is fantastic. It is like prime, very very good shit. And then a couple of other guys I don't really recognize, Justin Britt Gibson and Stephen Knight. Actually, Stephen Knight does sound a little.
I don't know if you ever watched Peaky Blinders.
I did a little bit. I think I've seen the first season because the guy that we used to play Battlefront with was like really obsessed with it.
Okay.
Is that Stephen Knight?
Yeah, that's Stephen Knight.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, yeah. So there are some rumors flying over. Did you have anything else to say on that one?
No, I was just going to mention the thing that they almost footnoted in here about a certain Barbie actor.
Who?
Ryan Gosling.
Okay. Oh, let's talk about that one real quick. Okay. This is actually really interesting because I am not sure if I believe it.
I want it to be true.
Okay. So first of all, the headline is that apparently Ryan Gosling is in talks to be in a Star Wars film.
Yes. Specifically Sean Levy's
right.
Star Wars movie.
Now, first of all, Ryan Gosling is a fantastic actor.
Yes.
And would be good in Star Wars.
He would be phenomenal.
He is, however, a very recognizable face.
Mm-hmm.
And with a couple of exceptions, mostly Sam Jackson.
Harrison Ford.
Well, even Harrison Ford. I don't know. Back then, like stardom was a little bit different because we didn't have social media and people didn't see them all the time everywhere. But like nowadays, I bring up every once in a while. I'll bring up the fact that they put Ed Sheeran in an episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and
that's just fucking Ed Sheeran.
Right, it just looks like Ed Sheeran, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening here? And I feel like Star Wars runs the same risk of having something like that happen. That being said, it also couldn't, and he could be great at it. Now, here's the thing: I happen to know because I am obsessed. In fact, I just finished doing my like yearly reread of an Andy Weir book called Project Hail Mary that I am obsessed with. It's perhaps it is my favorite science fiction book I think ever.
Okay.
If you've not read Project Hail Mary, it is stunningly beautiful, beautifully written, and every part of it is good. The ending is like really satisfying. There are a couple of twists along the way where you're like, what the fuck is happening? The whole premise is that for some reason the sun is losing its luminosity.
Oh, that's bad.
And they're like, why? Because in 30 years we're going to go through an ice age, right?
Yeah.
And so
the sun isn't scheduled to burn out for what, billions of years?
Probably. Yeah. Which, by the way, if anyone's ever asked me why I've said in the past that I'm not a nihilist, I'm a smilist, that is exactly why. Because one day the heat death of the universe will occur and none of this will matter. There is no God. There is no heaven. I'm so sorry. I hate to be the one to tell you this. So they find an 8th grade science teacher who was a part of academia, and like was like an up and coming biophysicist who got real pissy at the like academia really, and was like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna go teach 8th grade science. Sure. And so they get him to figure out what the problem is, and the whole movie the whole book, there's a reason I said that, by the way, is told. The first chapter, he wakes up, he has no idea who he is or where he is or why he's got a catheter in his penis, right? Okay. And so he's like, okay, well, I guess we'll troubleshoot this and try to figure it out, which is a very Andy Weir thing. If you've ever read The Martian, it's very similar. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm bringing all this up, first of all, because Project Hail Mary is a fucking banger book and everyone should read it. And if you haven't yet, I am frankly a little offended. They've cast the lead role in Project Hail Mary, the film, which will release in about a year, in March 2026. And the scientist, Ryland Grace, will be played by Ryan Gosling. Okay. And this will be filming perhaps around the same time that this is supposed to be filming.
Honestly, I don't know that Sean Levy's movie is going to happen before like 2030. Honestly.
Yeah.
At the rate Disney is making Star Wars.
That's going to be the joke, is that Ryan Gosling, by the time they make it, will be the old Obi-Wan Kenobi mentor figure or something. Yeah. So that is possible, where it could entirely be like they're not making it for another 5 years, in which case this conflict really doesn't mean anything. Yeah. And really, perhaps subconsciously, I just wanted to find a way to bring up Project Hail Mary and talk to everyone about it, because I really love that. But if it's supposed to be, if pre-production is supposed to be happening soon on it, and if they're going to be shooting in any time in the next like 6 months or so, it's going to conflict with that movie. So
there is a Star Wars example that sort of works against your concern, which
Okay.
is Pedro Pascal doing, I believe it was season 2 of Mando, and then also The Last of Us at basically the same time.
Well, consider also that Pedro Pascal, his physical requirement for Mandalorian season 2 was not very high. Most of his work was in a recording booth and holding a pillow,
Okay,
like
yeah.
as a baby. And,
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, when is The Last of Us season 2 coming out, by the way?
That's a good question.
Because now that you've mentioned that, I would very much like to see that. Yellow Jackets season 3
Is it 3?
is,
Yeah, I guess it would.
yeah.
Be.
And I saw the new trailer for this the other day, and it's like, this looks insane. This looks a little crazy.
So Invincible season 3.
Yes, which we'll be
February
talking about.
6th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be talking much about Yellow Jackets when it comes out, because it's just a thing that
Yeah.
where do you even put it? You know,
It's weird.
Yeah. So there were rumors a couple weeks ago that Natalie Portman was set to reprise her role in Ahsoka season 2. Reprise her role as Padme Amidala in season 2. You might remember that I think when we talked about this, both of us were like, eh. Okay.
Yeah.
Another crazy thing, apparently, they shot scenes with her for Obi-Wan Kenobi
Okay.
that was never used.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure why they would do that, because I get the Anakin thing, and Hayden Christensen being the specter of Obi-Wan's guilt and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where Padme would fit into this, because I don't see Obi-Wan going to bed at night being like, oh, I caused Padme to die. I bet he goes to bed at night thinking, Anakin caused Padme to die. He was the one that choked her.
Yeah.
That was not my fault at all. And while it was very sad to see her die and we couldn't do anything about it, I can't imagine him going to bed every night with that on his shoulder, you know?
I could see it being as like a flashback where Padme happened to be there.
Oh, like
while
walked
other
in on
things
their
were happening.
Jedi training or something?
Yeah. Or whatever. But
And they give each other a look, and then Obi-Wan's like, guys, come on.
we all fucking
Yeah, we all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, apparently this is not true. She's not coming back to season 2
Of Ahsoka.
of Ahsoka, right? So, yeah, that's it. By the way, this Ryan Gosling thing was picked up by Vanity Fair, which
Which is a pretty reliable
Yeah.
source. So I can absolutely believe that they're at least in talks about
Yeah.
it.
this is going to be a clickbait title to a video, possibly, which is that
Lay it on me.
they're doing a sequel. You're going to laugh, actually. I know exactly what you're going to say. They're doing a sequel to Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Oh.
I want you to think about that sentence for a couple seconds.
And if I hadn't already read this article,
Oh,
I
okay.
would be like foaming at the mouth
Right.
right now. If I was one of those individuals who thought The Last Jedi was a bad movie, I would be foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
But being that I am just, a human being who enjoys Schadenfreude, perhaps you should elaborate on what you just said.
So first of all, the obvious thing is that Star Wars The Last Jedi already has a sequel, and it's called Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
However,
this
that's
is true.
Okay. None of that matters.
Okay.
They're doing Charles Soule, a famed comic book writer and dude.
Probably most known in Star Wars circles for writing a whole bunch of the Darth Vader comics.
Yeah, they're
which are
fucking
really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is doing a series focusing on Kylo Ren, which apparently happens, according to him, 8 seconds after The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And it is about him confronting survivors of Order 66.
Okay.
Which I find a little weird.
Yeah, that's like a really long time.
How many of those motherfuckers are still alive? Like, I get, okay.
It can't be many.
10,000 Jedi. Because everyone's like, oh my gosh, everyone survived Order 66. And it's like, actually, the list of survivors isn't as long as you think. And if you consider that there were 10,000 Jedi at the time of the war.
10,000 like fully fledged Jedi, or are we including like younglings and Padawans as well?
I think everyone kind of counts.
Okay.
Yeah, 10,000 Jedi. 10,000 people are part of the Order.
Okay.
And we know like fewer than 50 of them that survived. That is a very small
less than
percent.
1%.
Yeah, that's a very small percentage of the Jedi that survived. Now, I could totally see Kylo Ren like getting into the Imperial Wikipedia or something and finding out that Vader, his idol and grandfather, was on a mission to hunt down Order 66 survivors and being like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And then discovering that there are none of them left. It's being like, they're all dead. What the fuck?
God damn it, Grandpa, you did your job too good.
Or they just all died, right, of old age or whatever. And I mean, I guess there would be alien species that
fucking Grogu. He's gonna hunt down Grogu.
Right, which good luck. He could probably kick his ass. Yeah. So yeah, it's
I mean, there's other comedy options like Old Man Cal Kestis, or perhaps Ahsoka if she's still around. Like, I can imagine Ahsoka just kind of smirking at Kylo Ren and then just effortlessly kicking his ass.
There's a really funny voice line from Star Wars Battlefront 2 when you're playing as Obi-Wan, because you know that like when you're playing HVV, when the good guys and the bad guys encounter each other, they have little voice lines, right, about each other.
They quip. Yeah.
And when Obi-Wan sees Kylo, he goes, or no, when Anakin sees Kylo, he goes, "You're no Sith." It's just like it's this like really condescending.
That's so rude.
Yeah. Oh man, it's really good. So yeah, it's when did I say that was coming out?
Good question.
February 2025.
Oh, wow, coming out
February 5th. Well, yeah, kind of coming out pretty soon actually. So,
okay.
In fact, we'll probably start doing fucking Star Wars story times about that too, because I'm thinking that they did. They just wrapped up, I think, the Battle of Jakku thing, which has like a lot of really good Luke stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that Marvel, the Marvel run of like Star Wars is still running.
I think Marvel has a bunch of different
Star
Wars comics happening in it.
Well, like the Star Wars.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Which I know that putting a hand gesture doesn't necessarily, but it's just the one that's called. It's just Star Wars. Yeah.
Named.
I can't remember now if that's actually wrapped up or not. Anyway, we'll be doing something next week where that we'll read some kind of comic and get into it. So, all right, now, real quick before you move on, we do this as a tradition. I can't remember when we started doing it. Doesn't matter. About doing a quick post-mortem on whatever Star Wars show we just finished, and then re-ranking all of our Star Wars shows or movies depending on what we just saw.
Sure.
So. Last week was the end of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and now that we've had a week to kind of sleep on it and think about and meditate upon the series and or the season at least, and then figure out where in our ranking it is. So, do you have any last thoughts about Skeleton Crew? Do you feel any different about it today than you did last week when we talked about it?
I don't think so. I think it's competently made. I think they got some bang up child actors for the main crew.
Yeah, they got lucky because that's
definitely that child actors are always a crapshoot.
Yeah,
but
thought Jude Law was great.
Jude Law was fantastic.
Nick Frost is SM-33.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, you might not know who Nick Frost is.
I don't think I do.
You know the meme with the guy with the shotgun, where the text is shame.
Yeah,
that's Nick Frost.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and he's in like a bunch of Simon Pegg movies. He's in like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, that one specifically is Shaun of the Dead.
I watched a horror movie with him and Sebastian. Sebastian, he's really hot. Sebastian.
Stan?
No. He was in Heartstopper. He plays the bully in Heartstopper.
Okay.
Sebastian something.
What?
He also played back when he was like 12. Ned Stark. He played Ned Stark in Game of Thrones for like one episode.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other actors. And it's this horror movie with this ridiculous twist. And maybe we'll talk about it when we're doing Jedi Power Battles, because we got to this twist in this movie, and I was like, what is happening? Part of me was like really surprised, and then part of me was like, I I didn't see it coming, and I was just like, what is happening right now? We'll talk about it. Ask me about it when we do Jedi Power Battles. Anyway, Nick Frost is in that, and he's fucking hilarious. He is so funny. Yeah. And then I kind of forgot that he was the guy that played SM-33. Also, Stephen Fry was the droid overseer guy. Oh. The supervisor. Yeah. Which Stephen Fry's amazing. Yeah. So
they managed to pay off Chekhov's turbo laser.
They did. I didn't think they were going to do it. And you know what? I ran my fucking mouth about that, and I shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. It's like the people like halfway through Acolyte was like, oh, they give us a fucking Wookiee Jedi and then let's see him fight, and it's like they did. Okay. Actually. All you had to do was shut your mouth for one more episode, and you would have gotten it. That's still, I think, my least favorite episode, because I think perhaps the point of that entire episode was to set up that turbo laser, and the rest of it was just for nothing. But the rest of them I liked a whole bunch. So I still like. I don't think any part of it really sticks out to me as like, oh, this was a poor effort on Lucasfilm's part. I liked the conception and the execution, particularly where the acting was. I think the weakest for me was probably the music.
Okay.
Which, that being said, there's still musical moments where I was like, that sounds really cool. But there's a lot of it where I was like, oh, this sounds kind of boring.
Also, the aesthetic of AT-ATN being just Star Wars suburbia.
Yeah.
Like, they nailed that.
Yeah. It's also kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, suburban environments are hellish and scary, and I hate them.
They're awful.
Yeah. So, for re-ranking, I think Mando Season 2 is still going to be first. Mm-hmm. And this came up the other day. I can't remember. Maybe it was with my partner. But, like, the obvious answer to Mando Season 2 is, oh, Luke Skywalker is at the end. And, okay, fair. However, that season was already cooking by the time it got there. It was pretty good. Yeah. Because there was, like, the Ahsoka thing and, like, a bunch of shit happening there. And then I think directly after that, if not, like, right there with it, is, like, Andor Season 1. Mm-hmm. And then I think I would put Mandalorian Season 1. And then Skeleton Crew. And then Acolyte.
Okay.
And then Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Acolyte over Ahsoka?
Oh, shit, I forgot about Ahsoka. No, Ahsoka would be higher. Ahsoka would be before Skeleton Crew.
Okay.
So, Mando Season 2, Andor. I should have written down all the things. Yeah. Andor, Mandalorian, probably Ahsoka. Mandalorian Season 1, mm-hmm. Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi should have been higher, but it was not very well executed.
Yeah.
Mandalorian Season 3, The Book of Boba Fett, way down at the bottom. I think those are all the live action ones.
I think so.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's definitely in the upper 50%, maybe even in the top third. It's good.
Yeah. Bad Batch isn't live action. Andor, Skeleton Crew. Visions isn't fucking... Oh, by the way, the Mandalorian Grogu movie, Tamar Morrison said that he hasn't gotten a call about it and does not plan to be in it.
Okay.
Which means that this idea about the Mandalorian and Grogu... connecting everything together, like all the live action things post Return of the Jedi is probably not actually real. That's probably not what they're doing, which kind of sucks. Hopefully they at least pay off the Thrawn thing.
Unless that's getting dealt with in Ahsoka Season 2.
Yeah, which sucks because like Thrawn is the big bad in a Star Wars movie would be really cool. Yeah, I don't know. All right, cool. We're moving on from Star Wars for a little bit.
Okay.
For the last probably 20 minutes or so, we're going to talk about a show that you would not have seen if I hadn't peeled your eyes open and tied you to my couch and made you watch it.
That is an exact description of how it happened.
Which is called Severance, and it's on Apple
TV,
whatever Apple's fucking streaming services. Now, give me, based on your understanding, give me a quick elevator pitch of season 1 of Severance.
So there's this weird tech company that can put a chip in your brain that will split your personalities so that there's one personality that is you while you're at work, and then one personality that's you when you're not at work.
Yeah. I was about to say, you don't sound so good, Chris.
That's because I'm sick.
Yeah. It's funny because I made you come here anyway.
Yeah. And it's essentially the show is about what happens when these two personalities cross over and run into each other. And
or also the weird workplace abuse that happens to the versions of. So there are two the
innie and the outie.
Yeah, there's the innie and the outie, and the innie, while at work, the only thing they know is work. And when they go home, they just stop.
Yep.
Their consciousness stops
until
until the next day.
They clock out at 5, and then the next time they're aware of anything is 9 a.m. the next day.
Right. Which I was making a joke earlier about how suburbia is kind of like a hellscape.
That is actual hell.
That is, in fact, I think the first episode of the first season is called Good News About Hell, because that is exactly what it is. And it culminates into this stunning revelation at the end of the season. Spoilers for Severance season 1. That the main character, who is brilliantly played by Adam Scott. First of all, the cast for this show in general is amazing. Adam Scott plays Mark S. They all have first name, last initial while they're at work, whose wife died, and as a way to make sure that there's a part of himself that was never in pain, that's why he got severed. Patricia Arquette plays kind of a supervisor.
This is Cobell.
This is Cobell. Or Mrs. Selvig, depending on where she is. And John Turturro plays Irving. Who is for the nerdy boys out there, you would remember him as
he was in the Batman.
He was in the Batman, yeah. Played
Falcone.
Yes, yeah.
Granddaddy Falcone. Christopher Walken's in this show.
Yeah, he was also in the last episode too.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? So anyway, big stunning revelation at the end, which is that this throughout the season, this rebellion is fomenting in this 4-person squad. That what is their job? We have no idea.
We don't know. Like, you just mouse over these characters in this grid and put them into a box, and it does something.
You scroll until you get to one that's scary. That's canonically what it's something that makes them feel scared, and then they throw it into a box.
So much about this company makes no sense at all.
Yeah, there's a room with goats. What are the goats for, Chris?
I don't know.
We still don't fucking know what the goats are for.
It's like this entire company is this weird mystical cult.
Yeah, I saw a really funny theory.
They all worship the founder
Kier,
as this godlike figure.
And all of the descendants as well, the CEOs. I saw a really funny theory about how all the goats, that's the board.
Oh.
Which I was like,
yeah, could be.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So as they go along, they meet a new coworker, Helly R, who immediately day one is like, fuck this, I want to go home, I quit. And her outie doesn't allow it, and she's forced to work there despite attempting to take her own life and all this other stuff. And I think things start to fall apart for them, and they start to realize that things down there aren't probably the way they should be. And they discover a thing called the overtime contingency, which allows people at the company to wake up the outie or the innie in the outie's world, right? And so they devise a plan. They enact the overtime contingency, and Mark, as played by Adam Scott, Helly R, played by I can't remember, and Irving, played by John Turturro, all wake up in their Audi's environment as the innie with the mission of, let's find out as much as we can, find a person that we think we can trust, and tell them what's happening to us down here, because they're being very terribly mistreated. And there's this stunningly beautiful gay romance in the innie world between John Turturro and Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And it's
It's adorable.
It's so heartwarming.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing, because we just rewatched the show like last week, or 2 weeks ago, gearing up to the thing, where Irving's character is so by the books and wants to follow the rules. And we identified a moment in every character that just like they just tweak and they're like so like Dylan was finding out that he had a kid. Helly, she never wanted to be there in the first place. Mark has a bunch of weird shit happening because he had contact with a guy that like both of his personalities merged into one. Irving's is that he finds out that the love of his life at work is retiring, which means in effect that person's dying. They're never coming back. And after he goes to their little retirement fucking watermelon party, comes back to the office and says, "Let's burn this motherfucker to the ground." You're like, yes, let's do it. So we season 1 or episode. Go ahead.
The only thing, like my only criticism of season 2 so far is that I really wish they had a previously on segment because that
there's
season
a lot of shit.
Was 3 fucking years ago, and I don't remember anything.
There was a lot of weird shit. So like the writer and actor strike, COVID had something to do with it. I'll tell you, I was really worried because season 1 was a home run. Like that show in season 1 is so good. Your first fear is,
they can't possibly do it this well.
Is it going to be good? Like, is it going to be as good? And it is so far. Like the
opening segment of episode 1 of this season
of him waking up on the elevator.
Yes, jazz music. He's just running through the halls. The constant camera shifts and things. It is so well done.
It is the cinematography. Okay, so first of all, the fact that this came partly from the brain of Ben Stiller. It just blows my mind because before Severance, he just existed in my mind as the idiot from Zoolander.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the fact that he's crafted, or is part of a team that has crafted such a stunningly good story that has good cinematography, has good music, everything hits on every cylinder.
Like him and Owen Wilson have both sort of had late career renaissances as actually really good creators.
Yeah. That is true. So, season 2, episode 1, we kind of like we start like dealing with the immediate the aftermath of the overtime contingency. Right.
Like both these episodes are kind of about the repercussions of that and how everyone is dealing with it.
Right. And Mark like wakes up on the elevator back to work, and the last thing he remembers is finding out that the woman who is supposed to be his Audi's dead wife was someone they worked with on the severed floor. And just this realization of, oh my God. In fact, the first season ends. The last scene is right before he's yanked out of that body, running into a crowded room with a picture of his wife screaming, "She's alive." And it just goes to black. And you're like, why is it 3 years? Why do we have to wait 3 years for this? So he wakes up in the elevator, and it is this stunning cinema, like the way there are these like impossible camera movements that are like really neat, and like the first place he goes is to where this woman works, which is a wellness that I guess just doesn't exist anymore. And then he runs back to the office to find that none of his friends are there.
Yeah, he has an entirely new batch of coworkers.
And they're weird stand-ins in ways for... So, like, you got you got, like, the older guy who is, like...
Who's sort of by the book.
Socially awkward and by the book, and is very concerned about... Because both of them are called Mark, and he wants to make sure that there's no, there's no problem with that, and there's the girl, and then, I don't know, the guy from Italy, or whatever. And I think so. Another thing this show does so well, by the way, are just weird, insane details. So like the guy from Italy, you might remember that like from the first season, they all get perks for finishing out their accounts quickly in the macro data refinement team. Which what are they refining? What is macro data?
I don't know.
We don't even know. I don't think they don't know either. And so like one of the perks you get is like a laser etched light with your face, or you can put whatever you want on it. In fact, one of the another huge like fist bump moment from season 1 is that you find out that Dylan was the top refiner of the quarter, and they bring him his perk, but he doesn't show it to anyone. And later on, he shows it to them, and it's their group picture.
Oh,
so it's like all of his friends, and it's a huge character growth moment for him because Dylan only cared about perks and being the best on the team. And once he figured out that he had a kid, everything just imploded for him. So this guy from Italy has one of those perks, but it's whittled out of wood.
Yeah. Because
they make a mention about how, I guess, wherever he came from is like the company doesn't have a lot of money or something. And so he's from Italy, or he's from overseas somewhere. I think they said Italy. And then the two other people are they were laid off from a different site or something. And so obviously Mark is like, who the
fuck are you? Yeah, where's my team?
Right. And so the new head of the severed floor, Milchick.
Mr. Milchick.
Pulls him into the office. Well, first of all, we meet
shows up with a bunch of balloons with his fucking face on them.
Yeah. We also meet Miss Huang.
Miss Huang.
Yeah. Who is 14?
Like 12?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And is, I think, their direct supervisor.
Yeah, she's like an assistant manager or something.
And I like how like one of the first questions from Mark is like, why is she a child? And he's like, we're not talking about that.
I don't know. Like, I'm sure they will at least hint at why this is the way it is, but that actress is so good at being creepy.
Oh, I know. She's very so. She does one of those really cringy ice breaking things with the team where they roll the ball around.
You roll the ball and you have to tell something about yourself.
And like Mark, I think Mark figures out. He's like, okay,
she's trying to pump me for information here.
Yes, and also like I need to at least put the face on for a little bit. And there's this stare down between the two of them where he says, the thing that I love about Lumen is meeting new friends.
I made an interesting thing about me is I made 4 new friends today.
Yes. And Miss Wong looks at him and is like, we're not friends. I'm your supervisor. And they have this weird like
they stare down for like 15 seconds. Yeah. And he's like, it is 3 friends.
It is so uncomfortable. And you can see him like his expression starting off with this bitch. And then his eyes change into, I'm happy, Mark.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I only need 3 friends. And it is like, it's uncomfortable because of how it's shot. Like it's kind of like a close up on their faces for a while, that make you kind of squirm in your seat a little bit because you're not used to staring at people's faces for that long. But it's brilliant. And then, so Milchick fills him. He's like, you've been gone for 5 months. Let me fill you in on what's happened. You and your team are famous.
Yes. And you are the face of any reform.
Yes. And everyone, you're heroes out in the real world. You brought change to Lumen. You're the saviors of the company. He shows him this really badly photoshopped newspaper that is
carefully redacted.
Yes. But so like the picture is it's the team in a parade in a car, but the team is just the team photo that was photoshopped in, and the parade is from like it's a real parade. I think it's like Eisenhower or something. It's like a presidential parade, like ticker parade. And there are tons of details to glean from this, by the way. And one that I saw that I thought was really interesting is that in the first season, the thing I mentioned before, the thing that the linchpin in all their decisions to go against the company marks is the discovery of this book that is written by, and he doesn't know this, but is written by his brother-in-law.
Yes.
Who is this weird, zany, self-help weird guy, and nothing in the book makes sense really when you think about it. It's just the weirdest shit in the world.
But I mean, nothing at Lumen makes sense either, so he's in good company.
Yeah, but he's like one of those, he would get along with Catherine Dunmore, right? Like our friend Catherine, like it's that kind of guy, right? So he like there's a bit in the newspaper where he gives a quote or something, and then they're like, author blah blah blah, author of whatever that book is.
Mm-hmm.
And also this, like the 7 virtues, how I came to Kier, hoping, I think, that Mark would read that and be like, oh my gosh, he converted to Kier.
You know, I did not see any of that at all, but I'm not at all surprised that you paused on that frame so that you could obsessively read every word that was on that newspaper.
It's really weird shit that's in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mark pretty much is like, fuck you, I want my friends back.
Yeah.
And has decided he's just going to do some mischief, right? And he does something to the break room that we don't see. The kitchen, not the break, the kitchenette.
Mm-hmm.
Or wherever that is.
I don't think he did, actually. I think that was
that just a distract?
that was just a distraction.
I thought
so that he could get away.
Well, no, because
so what he did is
because no, it's not true, because after they come back, like Dylan or someone opens the kitchenette, it's like, what the fuck, right?
Okay, maybe.
Like it doesn't happen at the end, or am I hallucinating?
I don't think that happens.
Well, we'll answer that later. Yeah. So he ends up he breaks into Milchek's office.
He frames the other Mark with this note about how he hates everything and wants to quit.
By the way, Mark knows the second he walks into the room that he's caught.
Yes.
But I love his what?
He does his best to
what?
play it. That's crazy.
What are you talking about? Who would write that? And it's like Milchek is just like,
we all know it was you.
I'm going to kill this motherfucker. Oh my God, let me kill him.
He called me milkshake.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Right. And so
Mark is like, you didn't see what I did in the bathroom? And Milkshake's like, what the fuck did you do in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Runs over to look at it, and Mark just fucking takes off.
He takes off, makes a plea to the board. Mm-hmm. He's like, I want my friends back.
My favorite part of all this, he runs right past Miss Wong. She's like, you're not supposed to go in there.
Yeah. She's also playing like computer games and shit.
Well, I think that's work, but like at one point she reaches into her desk drawer, no one's looking, pulls out a little...
Which is still... So
it's still cute.
Yeah, it's one of those 1970s, you press the buttons and get the ring on the guy. Yep. It is so bizarre. Everything about this company is so bizarre. But he ends up getting his way, and his friends come back.
Yes.
And as they come off the elevator, they're experiencing the first time since the overtime contingency.
Mm-hmm. They have this touching reunion.
Yeah. And then Helly is the last one to come through. And you might remember in season 1, they had a romantic embrace and everything. Something feels a little off about Helly in the first season, and I think that it's Helena. I don't think it's actually Helly.
Really?
Yeah. I think she's just going down the elevator and not getting severed.
It's possible.
There's something weird about her.
So, okay. At one point, they all exchange notes about what is happening, and Helly very clearly lies. Like she does not relate what is happening there at all.
But the weird thing is that when she lies, it seems like she's pulling from real memories, though.
Maybe
because it's hard to explain how I'm intuiting this, but like when they ask her specific questions about things, she doesn't look like she's looking for the lie. It looks like she's accessing memories.
Maybe.
And like when Irving or Dylan or Irving was like, they have night gardeners, and she's like, I guess. Huh. Like it was this. It's either this perfectly practiced lie, or she like thinks she's telling the truth. I don't know. There's something very strange going on with that.
You might be right.
They do this goofy little thing where they show them the intro video everyone gets.
This video, like I'm replaying Cyberpunk 2077 right now, so as soon as that video started, I was like, "Holy shit, is that Keanu Reeves? It's Keanu Reeves. Yeah. He has a cameo in this show.
Keanu Reeves voices a building. Yeah, because why the fuck not? Yeah. So and that whole thing was filmed in stop motion. Mm-hmm. Like they went through the pains of getting it right and everything, which I thought was really neat. And the episode ends with them deciding there's this strange loving moment between Irving and Dylan, where because Irving,
because they're bros,
yeah,
they have the biggest bromance in the show,
yeah, and Irving just minutes ago found out that the love of his life on the outside is with someone else.
Yep.
And so he doesn't want to be the version of him that knows that pain. Yeah. And so he just wants to leave. And Dylan is like, you can't fucking leave because I like you, and like
we're bros.
Yeah, we work together well, and convinces him to stay pretty much. Yep. And then while this is happening, there's a conversation between Mark and Helly, where the other weird thing about this is that while she lies about what happens to her, because we know in the first season we found out that she's like a part of the family.
Yeah,
she's
the Lumen, the daughter of the CEO.
Yeah, and she gives a speech in front of everyone saying how terrible everything is. While she lies about that, she still says this thing about how we don't owe our Audis anything. Yeah. Like we are not the same people. Yeah. And she has this defiant, like, let's fuck it all up thing still. So I'm not really sure. But they decide that they're going to go back to work, but they are going to solve the mystery of the Audi Mark's wife. Yeah. What happened to
Miss Casey.
Yeah, Miss Casey, right. So in episode 2, we get around the same timeline, but from the Audi's perspective, yes. Which I think is another brilliant turn of storytelling. One
of the biggest things I like about this is that Milkshake was just straight up lying about it being 5 months later.
Right. It was
like it's the next
weekend.
Day,
it's the weekend.
Basically.
Right. Yeah. So first of all, I love Mark's sister, and I love how she can tell that Mark is having trouble with the story, because she was like, yeah, and he was here and was holding a picture of your wife screaming she's alive. And he's like, well, because the baby was missing, and that's what I meant. Yeah. And she's like, okay.
I don't know about that.
And I love her open defiance to Milkshake when he shows up. And where, like, he has to come in, and she looks at him like, what the fuck is happening?
So we should back up a step here.
Okay.
So Helena, whatever the fuck you call her.
Helena.
Yeah. So she's having to...
I guess Helen is like a city in Montana.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So she's kind of having
Isn't
to
that
deal...
the capital of Montana? Helena?
No, it's Billings, Montana? Anyway, so Helena is having to deal with the fallout of all this, and her dad being pissed off at her for doing all this. And
no, it's the capital of Montana.
Oh, okay.
You know how I know that?
How?
Yellowstone.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's stupid. Anyway.
So, like, she ends up telling Milkshake, okay, look, you got to go fucking find all these people, figure out what they said and who they said it to. And Milkshake's like, should I fire him? And she says, be guided by Kier.
Yeah, which is a weird way to answer that question.
Yes, like it suggests that it's not just the severed people who are drinking the Kool-Aid here.
Oh, I think it's everyone.
Like, it is an actual cult.
She's got a guy with her.
Yep.
Oh, so first of all, Helena,
whatever.
Helena Bonham Carter goes to the bathroom after this little speech, and her father comes in, which happens in the first season before she goes to give her speech. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden says some real mean shit to her.
Yeah.
And then there's just this guy hanging out now, like this big fucking guy, and he just kind of hangs out with her.
Yeah.
And this performance by the old guy that's her father really weirded me out, because when he spoke to her before her speech, he said these really nice things to her, and about like when Helly made her attempt to go to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Yeah.
Was like, I cried in my bed, and you're the future of blah blah blah, and you'll be at my right hand, and blah blah blah. Yeah. And then after this, what is it that he says to her? It's something he calls her a name, right?
It's this really old timey language insult.
Yeah, and it's just really bizarre.
Really weird. Yeah.
It doesn't say; it just says she's castigated by her father.
Yeah. So. She pulls in
Drummond is the guy. The name of the guy is just like hanging out with her.
Yeah. So she pulls in Miss Selvig, or whatever the fuck her name is.
Well, on the outside she's Miss Cobell.
Yes, Cobell.
No.
No, on the outside she's Selvig.
Right.
On the inside she's Cobell.
Yeah.
Maybe. So anyway, she pulls her in. Says,
what was the nickname they made up for her in this episode?
Cobelvig?
That might have been it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so she pulls her in, says, "Yeah, you've been doing so well. We want to, promote you to this new department." She said, "You should fucking apologize to me." And Helen is like, "You're so right. I apologize. My dad apologizes. The board apologizes. All of Lumen apologizes.
Yeah.
Now, would you please just take this promotion?" And so he's like, "Yeah, okay, I guess."
So her problem is that she wants to go back to the severed floor.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, oh, well, you're being promoted to an exciting new position, and Milchick has your job.
Yeah.
And that's where she's like, oh, fuck no. Yeah. So Milchick fires everyone except for Mark.
Yes.
Why did they keep Mark around? Maybe because of Miss Casey.
I forget if it's right now or sometime later, but they're all like, we need Mark on the case, like
for Cold Harbor.
Yes.
Which is so each of them work on an account with a name. And I can't remember the names from season 1, but the one he's working on at the end of season 1 is Cold Harbor. It's on his computer screen.
Okay.
What the fuck does that mean?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, so they just call it Cold Harbor. Why is it so important that he finishes it?
I don't know.
Like, it's some lost shit.
Yeah.
So like weird lost shit is happening. So he fires. Interesting detail, by the way. Irving lies about losing time. Right.
I was like, I've just been here watching the Barber of Seville on TV all night.
Yeah. And the fact that he had the cognizance to lie, we found out in season 1 that it might be that Irving might be a part of the resistance of Lumen anyway.
There is something going on with Irving. Like, something is leaking back and forth because he
has
all these paintings of this dark hallway with an elevator at the end.
And he has hallucinations while he's in the severed floor of all the paint and shit. But we find out he's got documents. He's keeping track of severed employees and where they live and shit. Like, he knows something and he's up to something, which is why he lied. When Milchick was like, how's your evening been? He's like, fuck it, I've just been here smoking weed and watching Barber of Seville or whatever. And so Milchick fires all of them. Dylan takes it pretty hard.
Yeah, because he's got a wife and kids to support, right?
Two kids.
Yeah.
He tries, there's
he has to get a job at a door factory.
There's a hilarious scene of him doing the door factory thing. That was hilarious.
I like that he makes the joke about door prizes and the guy immediately just
turned off. Yep, that. And it's funny because I thought that joke was going to play well with him, but it just it was not the right thing to say. And then
he doesn't get hired because he was severed.
Right. Yeah. Which I think his chances were pretty thin after that door prize joke.
This is very tangential, but what year is this show set in?
It is supposed to be a little ambiguous
because they have technology like smartphones.
Yes.
But if you look at all the cars in this show,
are pretty old.
They're straight out of the early 80s.
Yes. It is technically in the 2020s. We know this because in season 1 there's a shot of Mark's driver's license that has his expiration date is 2025 or 6 or something. The weird thing is that the state abbreviation for where this is happening doesn't exist.
That's fun.
The state abbreviation, and it's Kier, comma PE.
Odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very, very weird. Yeah. So basically, Milchick ends up having to go back and rehire everyone.
So my favorite is that he shows up to Mark's door with this fruit basket and says, "Hey, can I encourage you to come back to work? We'll pay you
20%
more. We'll do this and that for you, and I hope you're feeling better about your dead wife and all that."
Sorry about it.
Yeah.
Interesting detail. We find out that he identified her body, and so there was apparently a body of Miss Casey somewhere.
Yeah.
So there are theories about, is she a clone or something, or I don't know.
Also, the most infuriating scene of this episode was Mark and his sister in the diner.
Yeah.
When Mark
gets pretty defensive. Yeah.
And it's like, I just want to shake his shoulder and be like, Mark, it's not a fucking competition.
Yeah.
Different people grieve differently.
Yeah.
And their grief is just as valid as yours.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
On the other side of that, I can't imagine what losing a spouse would be like.
Sure.
And I can imagine that he doesn't think that it's a competition, but he's got to channel that rage somewhere. And that was, in the moment, the option he had.
Sure.
And so he just got really pissed. Because I can imagine having this immense amount of rage and anger at a situation like that, whether it be at the world or the circumstance or whatever, or the driver in this case, or be just needing to like focus your anger somewhere. And I think in that scene, his sister was just the convenient target. We find out in that scene that Drummond is sitting
he's watching people.
He's like hanging out watching them.
Also, there's another fun little scene when Adam Scott is walking up the steps, and we see like the other Mark getting escorted out and bitching about how I broke a lease in Grand Rapids for this.
Right, yeah, because they'd been laid off and then brought back and then fired. By the way, we forgot to mention some very creepy thing in season 1 when Mark goes to check on wellness while he's looking at the door. In the background, there's a blurry figure that just kind of like watches him for a second and then leaves.
I'm pretty sure that's just Milchick.
No, Milchick doesn't wear that. Milchick doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't wear that.
I'll have to look again, but it looked like him.
It was not Milchick. Because Milchick always wears a turtleneck, and in season 1 it was a white turtleneck.
You mean episode 1?
Huh?
Are you talking about episode 1 of season 2 or actual season 1?
No, all of season 1 he wears a white turtleneck, and so far we've seen him in season 2 he wears a blue turtleneck.
Okay.
The person that is in the background is wearing a suit with like a tie, and some people think that it's the security guy that gets killed in the first season. Some people think it's Mark or some weird thing, because it's whatever he's wearing is very similar to Mark's. So it's like that whole thing is very strange. So anyway, everyone comes back, they all get their jobs back. And
Milchick has to show up with more fruit baskets.
Right, yeah. And I think the big moment in this episode is at the end when Mark, his Audi, sees Mrs. Selvig going to leave. She's packing up, yeah. Yep. And he stops her car in the road and asks,
"Hey, what do you fucking know?"
Yeah, asks her about his wife, and basically is like, "What the fuck? Is she alive or not?"
Yeah.
And she gives him this look like, "I can't say it, but motherfucker, you know it's true. Like, now get the fuck out of my way."
Screams and peels out.
And it, Patricia Arquette as Cobell / Selvig is. She is so good. She is so amazing. Yeah. So we'll be talking about these episodes as they come up. I think season 3 is in about a week. So
episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3. Yeah. So if you've not yet, I know it's not Star Wars, and I know it's not exactly even science fiction, but if you've not,
it's pretty science fiction.
Yeah. If you've not seen Severance, go and check it out because it is well worth your time. It's such a great show. So we're gonna reset here, play some.